It's so easy to predict. It's easy to call, guys. Joaquin Buckley and Kamaru Usman are fighting June 14th, and it's vastly approaching, and this seems like an easy prediction. Like, on paper, listen, bro, old age versus new age. We've seen it with Cejudo Yadong. We've seen it with Buckley Colby. We've seen it with Morales Burns recently. We've seen it with a lot of people. The UFC is trying to get the new age and push them past the old age because they feel like it's the end of the era now. Usman's 37, guys. He's not a young buck anymore. Like, this is not a Leo Badman Prime, the Nigerian nightmare. You know, Usman, the fucking menace, ripped out of his mind. You know, people getting salty that he's so good. They're, oh, he's on PEDs, man. I hate this guy. Fucking, you guys know the people. That's what the narrative is, and I feel like I agree with that narrative. I feel like the narrative going into this fight should be that Buckley's the man. He's the newer age. Usman's on his way out. Buckley should beat Usman. We've seen old age surpass the new age with Diego Lopez and Volkanovski, but why that happened in that fight specifically is what Lopez had was skill, but mostly power. We knew that Volkanovski was the more talented fighter out of the two, but we're banking on, oh, maybe Lopez could catch him with a punch and put him to sleep, dude. You know, maybe that could happen. And it didn't happen. Looking at Usman Buckley, I feel like it's more similar to the Volk Lopez situation than the Burns Morales situation. Whereas like Burns is the type to go through adversity, chat, and give up on himself. That's how Burns is. It's always how Burns has been his whole career. You know, so I don't see Usman or Buckley like that, because when shit gets hard for Usman, he bites out on his mouthpiece, he starts swinging, he goes crazy. Matter of fact, Usman's best moments in fights is when it gets dirty and ugly, and they just kind of sit in the pocket and just swinging. Usman might be taking punches, but he's throwing back. That's how he finished Burns in his prime. You know, that's how he had the best of Hamza on the feet. That's how he had those great fights with Colby, and just over like his power and those crazy exchanges, they helped him in the fight. You know. That's how Usman is. Usman's not the type of old gen to like get hit and give up. Like, if you think it's going to be a Colby situation where he's like shooting stupid takedowns and just staying there and like getting scared of the power coming back, that's not how Usman fights. Usman and Colby are two different types of fighters in that sense. You know, Colby does have good cardio. Colby's known for his cardio, but Colby has pillow hands. Like Colby, his best weapon was his cardio and his volume. Once his like volume started to go down, because if you look at the Leon Edwards fight and even the Buckley fight right after, he wasn't throwing a lot. He was a lot more hesitant. Once he lost that volume aspect, he was already good as done. You can't be Colby and just try to rely on wrestling by sporadically shooting in and getting stuffed. And Leon Edwards fight, he was shooting the most telegraphed stupid takedowns, and Edwards' takedown defense looked magnificent because he was stuffing them. In the Buckley fight, Colby looked horrible in the takedowns because he was off the back foot, wasn't throwing any punch behind it, and he would just shoot a takedown. Colby's horrible. And this kind of leads me to my next narrative, like, because Buckley's the man now. Is Buckley the man? I think he's really good. I think Buckley's really solid, but I'd be lying if I said that his resume right now is overrated. Like, if it's not overrated. I look at the wins he has, and I'm impressed. Don't get me wrong. These are good names to beat. You know, Colby Covington, he's not the best name because he's not in his prime anymore, but that's a good old head to beat. You know, Wonderboy Thompson. That's not a bad name to beat. Is he 41 years old? Yes. But does that make you look better to the people who like watch UFC? Sure. You know, the Wonderboy fight specifically for me, what that showed me was that like Buckley's good, but he's not really special anywhere. He's not a special wrestler. He's not a special striker. He has power and he's explosive. To be honest, chat, in the third round, they were 1-1 going to the third. Third round, like Wonderboy just looked like he was going to start piecing him apart and win the fight. Buckley needed a finish, and he went in there, he exploded into a finish and got the KO. That was great. That's exactly what he needed to win the fight. Truth of the matter is, if Buckley never exploded, I don't want to play, if you never did this, but if Buckley never exploded into that KO in the third round, I hope you guys realize that no one will be talking about Buckley right now. Buckley would just be the guy who lost a 41-year-old Wonder Boy, and then no one's really going to give a shit about him. So I'm happy that, you know, Buckley bit down his mouthpiece and earned that win against Wonderboy Thompson, because it was a hard-fought one. He had to go in there and finish with a statement, and he did that. You know, and I'm not trying to disrespect Wonderboy. Being 40 in karate stance, you can still be good. Wonderboy's a legend. You know, Usman is a lot more well-rounded and better than Wonderboy, and I think he's a lot more well-rounded and better than Buckley. If you actually compare Buckley and Usman in stylistic standpoint, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, okay, Well, like Usman might be the little bit better of a striker. Like, yeah, Buckley might be a little bit more explosive of power, but Usman's jab is a little bit more consistent. You know, his straight punch is a little bit more consistent than Buckley, who kind of gets tagged up by a lot of people he fights. You know, look at wrestling, you'd be like, oh, well, Buckley's strong physically, but I just think Usman's a little bit better of a wrestler. You know, both of them, like their BJJ practically non-existent. Clinch, like you'll probably give the advantage to Usman. That being said, Usman's old now. Usman's older. Let me say, I don't want to say Usman's older now. He's not a young buck anymore. So my thing with Usman, chat, that I know is going to be the truth is, first of all, long layoff, chat, nearly 2 full years not fighting, man. And you know one thing I've noticed with these old heads coming back after a long time off? The ring rust is always there. Like, the ring rust is always there. Like, even when they look like they're doing decent, they still don't look like how they usually look. In the Cejudo's Yadong fight, chat, I remember I was thinking Cejudo's going to come back and just beat Yadong's not that good. Yadong isn't that good. But I remember watching that fight and seeing like Cejudo do mistakes that he doesn't usually do. Like telegraphing takedowns, like panic shooting, not setting up his takedowns well, not throwing punches behind it. A lot of wrestlers primarily who take a long layoff, they think they could just go in as roses and bubbles and they're going to take him down and maul them. That's never how it works. They forget how they were in their prime. Cejudo was shooting in takedowns after mixing in strikes. Prime Kobe was mixing in volume, and all of a sudden you're shelling up, then he's going for a takedown. The Kobe against Buckley was just shooting from 50 feet away, trying to like, oh, I'm going to muscle you. It never works. You know, and then even Cejudo and Yadong, he was like trying to grab onto like Yadong's single leg. Yadong's like, yo, get off me. Usman's not really a type to overshoot on takedowns. So I'm banking on him not overshooting. Because let's be real, chat. Layoff aside, Kamaru Usman that fought Hamza Chimaev on 10 days notice would smoke Buckley. I don't think anyone could argue that. Like, the Kamaru Usman that showed up, if Kamaru showed up on 10 days notice against Buckley for this fight, no full camp, but with the 2023 version that lost to Hamza, he's beating Buckley. Buckley's nothing special. Buckley nearly lost to these old heads. You know, even Kobe looked like he was building some momentum against Buckley. I'm not banking on Buckley to fatigue against Usman. I think Buckley, like, of course, his endurance is probably not Usman level, but he's going to be on par with him. One thing I've noticed with my picks, I can't bank too much on endurance. Like, I picked Volk to beat Lopez over the course of like a 5-round fight, but I did say in my prediction, I think Lopez is going to fatigue. A lot of these guys don't fatigue, you know, chat. I even said Ian Gary's going to beat Prates, but Prates is probably going to fatigue. Prates didn't fatigue either. Was I right with all those picks? Yes. But I was banking on people fatiguing, not realizing, chat, that everyone's going to be ready for a 5-round fight for the most part. If you're a solidified, legit athlete, you should be ready for 5 rounds. Buckley will be ready for 5 rounds. Usman will be ready for 5 rounds. It's going to come down to the exchanges. Now, when I look at them from like an exchange point of view, I feel as if Usman should get the better of him. Usman's better than Joaquin Buckley. There's no doubt in my mind. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't leaning more towards Buckley. Now I know everyone's like, bro, how are you going to say Buckley after saying all that? I believe ring rust is a real thing, and it's not necessarily something you could overlook. And I've done it multiple times. I've done it with Chandler when he was rematching Charles, you know. I've done it with Cejudo, Yadong. You know, I've done it a lot of times to the point where I don't necessarily want to do it again. I don't want to look at this fight and say, yeah, man, I just think Usman, if he shows up at like 2023 version Usman, he's going to beat him. Because he would. And he didn't even, it wasn't like Usman in 2023 was prime Kamaru Usman, because it wasn't. That wasn't prime Kamaru who won against Hamzat. But Kamaru doesn't even be in his prime to beat Hamzat or beat Buckley. He just doesn't. However, 37 now, you know what I'm saying? And it's like ring rust. I would be okay if he's like a Bilal Muhammad 37. When I say Bilal Muhammad 37, I mean 36, 37, but you're active. Like, Bilal's not he's not overly active, but Bilal was fighting like every year. And it's 2 times, sometimes a year. You know, Usman taking 2 years off at that age is not doing him any favors. Like, he's not going to come back and just be the same Usman that fought Hamza. He's going to be a worse version, and I'm prepping for that. And I'm thinking about that when I'm like trying to make my pick for this, because I've been going so back and forth with this pick, you know. Like, when it was first announced, I'm like, Usman's going to cook him. Did some thinking, I was like, Buckley's going to beat him. Now I'm over here like kind of in the middle right now, man. I'm really in the middle. I'll probably do like a more specific breakdown, like stylistic breakdown as the fight approaches. But I'd be lying if I said my gut and my intuition isn't telling me to lean Joaquin Buckley, just because the age, not necessarily because Buckley's all that great. I don't really look at Buckley and be like, oh, he's so much better than Usman here. I just look at Buckley. I'm like, he's young, he's hungry, he has the right mindset. And although Usman might be better a lot of places, Usman is not prime Usman. Usman has not been in the ring for a long time. I've seen Usman train with Izzy and all these guys. I'll be real. He doesn't look necessarily bad when he trains with people, chat. His movement is worse, dude. I'm not gaslit, chat. Like, I see his clips. He looks like he looks good. His movement is cooked, you know. And Buckley might explode into an oblique kick first seconds in. Buckley's not an idiot. Buckley's not even heavy on the kick approach. He's going to be kicking against Usman, bro. He knows Usman's not going to be the best in the knees, man. It's not like everyone knows, man. Like, it's not like fucking the fighters who fight Usman don't know. Hamza only didn't, like, go for leg kicks. That's just not Hamza's fight style, He's going to go in there. He's going to grapple. Buckley, he's an explosive guy. I can see him exploding into oblique kicks, actually, and exploding into hooks. And I feel like Buckley right now, he's a dog, and he's going to fight you, too. Like I said, Usman wins fights by fighting them, like biting down his mouthpiece and fighting, And then I'm just thinking of it now, like, Usman is aging, and since the ring rust, like, as the fight elongates, old me would be like, Usman's going to start cooking him when the fight elongates. I don't know about that. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. People saying Buckley knocks out Usman, I don't take them too seriously. I just don't, you guys just don't know Usman. Usman getting knocked out. Yeah, Kenny, because he got knocked out by fucking Leon Scott, dude. And that's the only guy who's ever knocked him out. But I think Buckley, dude, that was a fluke. Like, that was like, Usman's not going to get knocked out in a scrap, like biting down your mouthpiece, swinging. Hamza hits hard. They had so much of those, and Usman was getting the better of him, People might be like, Hamza's weak, but Hamza actually, he packs a punch, especially at 185. That was Usman's first time at 185 on 10 days' notice, guys. You guys are underestimating his fight against Hamza Chimaev. You are. You're underestimating Usman's power, his wrestling, because he got out-wrestled that fight. You're underestimating his striking, because you guys think Hamza sucks at striking. He's not really a bad striker, per se. Usman is the more steady striker. Like, unlike Kobe, Usman doesn't need to, like, just jump in and be stupid. Kobe wasn't really jumping. He was kind of running away. But like Usman, if Usman and Buckley are having a pretty boxing fight, I actually think Usman's jab would get the better of Buckley. I think Buckley's going to need to force the dog fight. But once Buckley unlocks that little dogfight essence in Usman, when they're just biting down their mouth, he's head down swinging. You guys know fucking Usman, head down swinging, like doing these stupid uppercuts and all that. That's when Usman becomes the most problematic, unironically. And Usman has gas tank for days. He could go for a long time. Buckley cannot break Usman. If you're banking on Buckley breaking Usman, brother, just swipe out, brother. This is not the fight for this. No one's breaking. I don't even think anyone's going to break anyone. I think it's going to end up going to points. I know Buckley's really evident he's going to finish Usman. I wonder if that's going to play to Buckley's detriment when he's trying to go in there and finish Usman, but Usman's just not going anywhere, But it's going to be a good fight, man. This is like one of the closer fights, and one of the fights I'm more hyped about, first of all, guys. I don't really care about UFC that much. I'm honestly more hyped about that fight night than fucking 316, bro. I don't give a fuck. I don't care, man. I don't care. I'm more hyped about Usman Buckley. Usman, he sucks. I want Usman after he beats Buckley or loses. I don't care, he sucks. Bilal did call out Usman, and I think that fight makes sense too. But like I said, we have to see how Usman looks, guys, and how Usman performs against Buckley before we could come down to a conclusion. I'm sure in the pound for pound podcast, Sudo's gonna be like, Triple C. I don't know, Usman. Buckley's a marauder, Usman. He's going to be gaslighting Usman the whole build up, like, oh, he's going to do this to you. And then I think Usman going to go in there, put the beats on him like Dr. Dre. Do I actually think that? I don't know. I'll be honest, guys. If I had to lean someone right now, and it's like, what, May 20 fucking 8th? May 29th? Yeah, May 26th. If I had to lean someone right now, I would say Buckley. Because I feel as if Buckley right now in his career is at a position where he's the younger guy, the hungrier guy, and Usman's ring rust is literally the biggest detriment ever. I don't care if Usman was 37 but fighting once a year, I'd pick Usman with a heartbeat. You can't be 37 with 2 years off with declining knees and your hairline's kind of receding. I didn't need to say that part. I'm so sorry. And try to go in there and beat an up-and-coming hungry contender, Usman has hustled with the stars, though. He has hustled with the law. He has shook his homie hand. After they punched him in the jaw, he ain't never been a fraud. I ain't calling Usman a fraud here. Don't get it twisted. If anyone's a fraud, it'd be Buckley, who's getting hyped up for beating like 40-year-old Wonder Boys and 39-year-old Kobe's and fucking, the old heads. But, they'll figure it out. It's going to be a good fight. But if I had, like I said, if I'm leaning someone, it is Joaquin. But we have to see, brother. I want to see some interactions with them, and then I'll get a better gauge of like the mental psyche and stuff. Because I remember thinking Usman looked nervous before the Hamza fight. I was like, oh, dude, I don't know, man. Like the body language, I was looking at their body language or something. Like Usman looked a little bit, but he really wasn't. Like he was prepped. I think he did say he was nervous, but he was ready for that fight. And that was 10 days notice. We're giving Usman a full camp. Man, I hope Usman proves me so wrong, bro. Last time I picked against a Nigerian man was, well, not Nigerian. I picked against Nigerians a lot. But last time I picked against like a favorite fighter, like an Izzy or Usman, was UFC 287. I picked Pereira to beat Izzy. And then Izzy proved me so wrong, brother. Dale. I always want to be proven wrong. So this is going to be the first time since then I pick against one of my favorite fighters. So if I do, So I hope, the Kenny curse continues and I pick against Nigeria and they win again, brother. But let me know what you guys think down below about this fight. I think it's a fun matchup nonetheless, and it's going to be a banger fight. But that's it for me, and God bless. 2, 3.